those who believe in the unseen, and perform the prayers, and give from what we have provided for them. And attend to your prayers, and practice regular charity, and kneel with those who kneel. We made a covenant with the children of Israel, worship none but Allah, and be good to parents, and relatives, and orphans, and the needy, and speak nicely to people, and pray regularly, and give alms. Then you turned away, except for a few of you, recanting. And perform the prayer, and give alms. Whatever good you forward for yourselves, you will find it with Allah. Allah is seeing of everything you do. Righteousness does not consist of turning your faces towards the east and the west. But righteous is he who believes in Allah, and the last day, and the angels, and the scripture, and the prophets. Who gives money, though dear, to near relatives, and orphans, and the needy, and the homeless, and the beggars, and for the freeing of slaves, those who perform the prayers, and pay the obligatory charity, and fulfill their promise when they promise, and patiently persevere in the face of persecution, hardship, and in the time of conflict. These are the sincere, these are the pious. It is decreed for you, when death approaches one of you, and he leaves wealth, to make a testament in favor of the parents and the relatives, fairly and correctly, a duty upon the righteous. And spend in the cause of Allah, and do not throw yourselves with your own hands into ruin, and be charitable. Allah loves the charitable. O you who believe! Spend from what we have given you, before a day comes in which there is neither trading, nor friendship, nor intercession. The disbelievers are the wrongdoers. The parable of those who spend their wealth in Allah's way is that of a grain that produces 7 spikes, in each spike is 100 grains. Allah multiplies for whom He wills. Allah is bounteous and knowing. Those who spend their wealth in the way of Allah, and then do not follow up what they spent with reminders of their generosity or with insults, will have their reward with their Lord. They have nothing to fear, nor shall they grieve. Kind words and forgiveness are better than charity followed by insults. Allah is rich and clement. O you who believe! Do not nullify your charitable deeds with reminders and hurtful words, like him who spends his wealth to be seen by the people, and does not believe in Allah and the last day. His likeness is that of a smooth rock covered with soil, a downpour strikes it, and leaves it bare, they gain nothing from their efforts. Allah does not guide the disbelieving people. And the parable of those who spend their wealth seeking Allah's approval, and to strengthen their souls, is that of a garden on a hillside. If heavy rain falls on it, its produce is doubled, and if no heavy rain falls, then dew is enough. Allah is seeing of everything you do. O you who believe! Give of the good things you have earned, and from what we have produced for you from the earth. And do not pick the inferior things to give away, when you yourselves would not accept it except with eyes closed. And know that Allah is sufficient and praiseworthy. Whatever charity you give, or a pledge you fulfill, Allah knows it. The wrongdoers have no helpers. If you give charity openly, that is good. But if you keep it secret, and give it to the needy in private, that is better for you. It will atone for some of your misdeeds. Allah is cognizant of what you do. Their guidance is not your responsibility, but Allah guides whom He wills. Any charity you give is for your own good. Any charity you give shall be for the sake of Allah. Any charity you give will be repaid to you in full, and you will not be wronged. It is for the poor, those who are restrained in the way of Allah, and unable to travel in the land. The unaware would think them rich, due to their dignity. You will recognize them by their features. They do not ask from people insistently. Whatever charity you give, Allah is aware of it. Those who spend their wealth by night and day, privately and publicly, will receive their reward from their Lord. They have nothing to fear, nor shall they grieve. Those who believe, and do good deeds, and pray regularly, and give charity, they will have their reward with their Lord, they will have no fear, nor shall they grieve. But if he is in hardship, then deferment until a time of ease. But to remit it as charity is better for you, if you only knew. You will not attain virtuous conduct until you give of what you cherish. Whatever you give away, Allah is aware of it. Those who give in prosperity and adversity, and those who restrain anger, and those who forgive people. Allah loves the doers of good. Those who withhold what Allah has given them of His bounty should not assume that is good for them. In fact, it is bad for them. They will be encircled by their hoardings on the day of resurrection. To Allah belongs the inheritance of the heavens and the earth, and Allah is well acquainted with what you do. Worship Allah, and ascribe no partners to Him, and be good to the parents, and the relatives, and the orphans, and the poor, and the neighbor next door, and the distant neighbor, and the close associate, and the traveler, and your servants. Allah does not love the arrogant show-off. Those who are stingy, and exhort people to stinginess, and conceal what Allah has given them from His bounty. We have prepared for the disbelievers a disgraceful punishment. And those who spend their money to be seen by people, and believe neither in Allah nor in the last day. Whoever has Satan as a companion, what an evil companion! What would they have lost, had they believed in Allah and the last day, and gave out of what Allah has provided for them? Allah knows them very well. There is no good in much of their private counsels, except for him who advocates charity, or kindness, or reconciliation between people. Whoever does that, seeking Allah's approval, we will give him a great compensation. Allah received a pledge from the children of Israel, and we raised among them 12 chiefs. Allah said, I am with you, if you perform the prayer, and pay the alms, and believe in my messengers and support them, and lend Allah a loan of righteousness, I will remit your sins, and admit you into gardens beneath which rivers flow. But whoever among you disbelieves afterwards has strayed from the right way. It is he who produces gardens, both cultivated and wild, and date palms, and crops of diverse tastes, and olives and pomegranates, similar and dissimilar. Eat of its fruit when it yields, and give its due on the day of its harvest, and do not waste. He does not love the wasteful. And inscribe for us goodness in this world, and in the hereafter. We have turned to you. He said, my punishment, I inflict it upon whomever I will, but my mercy encompasses all things. I will specify it for those who act righteously and practice regular charity, and those who believe in our signs. Those who perform the prayer, and from our provisions to them, they spend. And know that whatever spoils you gain, to Allah belongs its fifth, and to the messenger, and the relatives, and the orphans, and the poor, and to the wayfarer, provided you believe in Allah and in what we revealed to our servant on the day of distinction, the day when the two armies met. Allah is capable of everything. What prevents the acceptance of their contributions is nothing but the fact that they disbelieved in Allah and His Messenger, and that they do not approach the prayer except lazily, and that they do not spend except grudgingly. Charities are for the poor, and the destitute, and those who administer them, and for reconciling hearts, and for freeing slaves, and for those in debt, and in the path of Allah, and for the traveler in need, an obligation from Allah. Allah is all-knowing, most wise. The believing men and believing women are friends of one another. They advocate virtue, forbid evil, perform the prayers, practice charity, and obey Allah and His Messenger. These, Allah will have mercy on them. Allah is noble and wise. Those who criticize the believers who give charity voluntarily, and ridicule those who find nothing to give except their own efforts, Allah ridicules them. They will have a painful punishment. And those who patiently seek the presence of their Lord, and pray regularly, and spend from our provisions to them, secretly and openly, and repel evil with good. These will have the ultimate home. Tell my servants who have believed to perform the prayers, and to give from what we have given them, secretly and publicly, before a day comes in which there is neither trading nor friendship. Allah commands justice, and goodness, and generosity towards relatives. And He forbids immorality, and injustice, and oppression. He advises you, so that you may take heed. Allah is with those who are righteous and those who are virtuous. And give the relative his rights, and the poor, and the wayfarer, and do not squander wastefully. The extravagant are brethren of the devils, and the devil is ever ungrateful to his Lord. But if you turn away from them, seeking mercy from your Lord which you hope for, then say to them words of comfort. And do not keep your hand tied to your neck, nor spread it out fully, lest you end up liable and regretful. And he used to enjoin on his people prayer and charity, and he was pleasing to his Lord. Those whose hearts tremble when Allah is mentioned, and those who endure what has befallen them, and those who perform the prayer and spend from what we have provided for them. And strive for Allah, with the striving due to Him. He has chosen you, and has not burdened you in religion, the faith of your father Abraham. It is He who named you Muslims before, and in this. So that the messenger may be a witness over you, and you may be witnesses over the people. So pray regularly, and give regular charity, and cleave to Allah. He is your protector. What an excellent protector, and what an excellent helper. Those who work for charity, and those who give what they give, while their hearts quake, knowing that to their Lord they will return. Those of you who have affluence and means should not refuse to give to the relatives, and the needy, and the emigrants for the sake of Allah. And let them pardon, and let them overlook. Do you not love for Allah to pardon you? Allah is all forgiving, most merciful. Pray regularly, and give regular charity, and obey the messenger, so that you may receive mercy. And those who, when they spend, are neither wasteful nor stingy, but choose a middle course between that. These will be given their reward twice, because they persevered, and they counter evil with good, and from our provisions to them, they give. But seek, with what Allah has given you, the home of the hereafter, and do not neglect your share of this world. And be charitable, as Allah has been charitable to you. And do not seek corruption in the land. Allah does not like the seekers of corruption. So give the relative his rights, and the destitute, and the wayfarer. That is best for those who seek Allah's presence. Those are the prosperous. The usury you practice, seeking thereby to multiply people's wealth, will not multiply with Allah. But what you give in charity, desiring Allah's approval, these are the multipliers. Those who observe the prayer, and pay the obligatory charity, and are certain of the hereafter. Those who recite the book of Allah, and perform the prayer, and spend of what we have provided for them, secretly and publicly, expect a trade that will not fail. And when it is said to them, spend of what Allah has provided for you, those who disbelieve say to those who believe, shall we feed someone whom Allah could feed, if He so willed? You must be deeply misguided. And those who respond to their Lord, and pray regularly, and conduct their affairs by mutual consultation, and give of what we have provided them. Were He to ask you for it, and press you, you would become tight-fisted, and He would expose your unwillingness. The believers are those who believe in Allah and His Messenger, and then have not doubted, and strive for Allah's cause with their wealth and their persons. These are the sincere. And in their wealth, there was a share for the beggar and the deprived. And why is it that you do not spend in the cause of Allah, when to Allah belongs the inheritance of the heavens and the earth? Not equal among you are those who contributed before the conquest, and fought. Those are higher in rank than those who contributed afterwards, and fought. But Allah promises both a good reward. Allah is well experienced in what you do. The charitable men and charitable women, who have loaned Allah a loan of righteousness, it will be multiplied for them, and for them is a generous reward. O you who believe! When you converse privately with the messenger, offer something in charity before your conversation. That is better for you, and purer. But if you do not find the means, Allah is forgiving and merciful. Whatever Allah restored to his messenger from the inhabitants of the villages belongs to Allah, and to the messenger, and to the relatives, and to the orphans, and to the poor, and to the wayfarer, so that it may not circulate solely between the wealthy among you. Whatever the messenger gives you, accept it, and whatever he forbids you, abstain from it. And fear Allah. Allah is severe in punishment. To the poor refugees who were driven out of their homes and their possessions, as they sought the favor of Allah and his approval, and came to the aid of Allah and his messenger. These are the sincere. And give from what we have provided for you, before death approaches one of you, and he says, My Lord, if only you would delay me for a short while, so that I may be charitable, and be one of the righteous. Nor would he advocate the feeding of the destitute, and those in whose wealth is a rightful share, for the beggar and the deprived. Your Lord knows that you stay up nearly 2/3 of the night, or half of it, or 1/3 of it, along with a group of those with you. Allah designed the night and the day. He knows that you are unable to sustain it, so he has pardoned you. So read of the Qur'an what is possible for you. He knows that some of you may be ill, and others traveling through the land, seeking Allah's bounty, and others fighting in Allah's cause. So read of it what is possible for you, and observe the prayers, and give regular charity, and lend Allah a generous loan. Whatever good you advance for yourselves, you will find it with Allah, better and generously rewarded. And seek Allah's forgiveness, for Allah is forgiving and merciful. He neither believed nor prayed. And they feed, for the love of him, the poor, and the orphan, and the captive. We only feed you for the sake of Allah. We want from you neither compensation, nor gratitude. And you do not urge the feeding of the poor, or a destitute in the dust. As for him who gives and is righteous, and confirms goodness, we will ease his way towards ease. He who gives his money to become pure, seeking no favor in return, only seeking the acceptance of his Lord, the Most High. They were commanded only to worship Allah, devoting their faith to him alone, and to practice regular prayer, and to give alms. That is the upright religion. So pray to your Lord and sacrifice.